My name is Sharon from iGaming Africa, and joining me is Denis Mudene, CEO of the LGRB here in Uganda. Thank you so much for sparing some time and meeting with me today. How are you?
Thank you, Sharon. I'm fine, and great to see you in Kampala.
Yeah, it's also good to be here. It's good to be here. So first and foremost, I've noticed that lately the board has been having a lot of CSR initiatives, especially with promoting responsible gambling. Recently visited Ginger to do some responsible gambling programs, and so far so good. How has the reception been, or how has the impact been with trying to promote this initiative among the punters?
Thank you. Talking about the recent visit to Ginger, it was basically the visit to the eastern part of the country, and the purpose of this visit is basically to create awareness, especially with the local leaders, on areas of collaboration, especially focused on responsible gaming, and the reception is good. The reception is good. The challenges are quite, I would say, immense, and the awareness creation about the legal framework as far as the gaming sector is concerned, the initiatives the board is undertaking to ensure that we protect the public against the adverse effects of gaming is well appreciated by the local leaders. And this is an ongoing activity. We are visiting all the regions in the country. Last year, we started with our west. We've done several in the central, east, and now this quarter, in this new financial year, we are headed to the north, and we'll be visiting quite a number of districts to, one, create awareness, activities that are geared towards ensuring responsible gaming.
Okay, thank you for that. I would also like us to discuss about any recent regulatory changes or updates that have been made within the board. Is there anything significant or impactful that you feel has been implemented or amended by the board?
In terms of the law, the act, and the regulations, we at the moment undertaking a comprehensive review of our act and regulations, and this is an ongoing activity, and we hope that by early next year we'll be rolling out new regulations, majorly focused on online gambling, responsible gaming, given the innovations in the sector. In terms of other activities that the sector gets to know on what is going to be impactful, you are aware we launched what we call a National Central Electronic Monitoring System. Early this year we launched the online module to interface with the online operators. End of last month, end June, we completed our land-based monitoring module, and our operators are now interfacing with the module. So this system basically is to help us monitor what we call significant events that do happen on operator systems. And of course, specifically, we want to ensure that there is effective tax collection, but also the system also has what we call a responsible gaming module, where we want to, most importantly, stop underage gambling. And how we are going to do this, we are majorly going to interface with our national database to ensure that we validate who is eligible to bet and who is not eligible to bet. So the other module on the system is Anti-Money Laundering module, as a supervisory body that supervises entities that are accountable persons in as far as our money laundering law is concerned. We are supposed to report what we call suspicious transactions. So the system will automatically be flagging what they refer to as suspicious transactions for further management by the authorized body, which is the Financial Intelligence Authority. The system also has the fraud detection. Basically, here we are trying to ensure that the data we are receiving from operator systems is not tampered with, and it's indeed from their systems that they offer and exposed to the public. We recently also working with the Uganda National Bureau of Standards and our consultants GLI. We are rolling out gaming standards. We've developed 14 gaming technical standards, and out of the 14, 8 have already been approved by the Bureau, the Standards Bureau, and they are awaiting signature by the minister and then gazetting, and then we start implementing them as compulsory gaming standards. So we did adopt the GLI standards, which are internationally recognized. So, and that will also enable the other players in other countries that are familiar with the standards or have offered their systems and machines to be tested against the same standards to easily enter into our market. So this is an initiative that the board has been working on over the years, and we hope that by the end of this year we'll have started the implementation of these standards. The other initiative in the offing, which has already started, is the National Lottery. The law mandates the minister to undertake a national lottery for good causes. And the good cause earmarked for the proceeds from the national lottery is the sports infrastructure. So proceeds from the national lottery will be focused to supporting our sports infrastructure, which I think is a great initiative, and we've seen other countries do the same, and we believe that we are on the right track.
Absolutely. You mentioned about your collaboration with GLI. Are there any other important collaborations that the board has been implementing that you feel has been beneficial to like new developments you've had?
Yeah, apart from the standards, we are also undertaking some trainings offered by GLI to enhance our capacity in regulating the sector. And majorly the focus now has been with GLI standards, and then also training on responsible gaming and compliance related activities.
Outside promoting things like responsible gambling, so what are some of the initiatives you'd say that the board is implementing to support new startups within the industry, especially the ones who are trying to enter within the Ugandan market?
Startups, if I might bring it to our local people here, we do give priority to what we call the local content, and the beauty here is the locals are looked at as East Africans. So, for example, general betting, a license that has the sports betting, virtual games, is ring-fenced for the locals. The locals here, I mean Ugandans, Kenyans, Rwanda, Tanzania, all the East African countries. So we give preference to East Africans. In terms of fees that is payable, they have a special fee they pay that is different from the foreigners. So that's one way of supporting the startups here. And we do license whoever comes in this market as long as they conform to the standards, they fulfill all the requirements. I believe with supporting startups, we are focused, and we have a local content regulation we are also working on, which I believe will create more opportunities for the startups that will be getting into this country.
Speaking of support, of late, inclusion has been very popular, and is gaining traction within the industry. So how does the board address such issues of having an inclusive and diverse environment?
One, we are open to licensing operators from all walks of life. Two, we encourage our operators to employ women, men, disabled. There's what we call equal opportunities here. So we majorly encourage them to focus on bringing on board different categories into the sector. So it's not something that we've been majorly focused on, but it's something that basically we'll continue looking at and ensure we have policies around it to ensure that there's an opportunity for all the categories in participating in this sector.
We've seen the issues of you promoting a lot of mental wellness and well-being. How crucial do you think it is to have an integration between people understanding the importance of mental health within the industry, especially among the punters, especially when it comes to also things like responsible gambling?
I think this is a very important activity that all regulators should focus on, because mental health in this sector has not been talked about so much. You know, betting is addictive and can be psychologically harmful. We are trying to open up the space so that people can, one, freely talk about mental health in this sector, because I mean we can't hide away from the fact that gambling is one of irresponsible gambling can lead to mental health. So what I would want to see is operators as the regulators coming together and creating more awareness about this issue, and also focusing on creating standards or policies that are focused on addressing the mental health in the sector. And our approach now, the gaming board here, our approach has been creating partnerships. We've created a partnership with Ministry of Health, basically focused on mental health activities. We have created a partnership with our major mental health hospital called Butabika, that is helping us on counseling what we would call problem gamblers. We are also creating partnerships with NGOs that do support problem gamblers. So to me, this is an area that we need to greatly focus on, because it has adverse effects. Irresponsible gaming has adverse effects, and one of them is mental health issues, which I think is not something normally talked about in this sector, and which really needs to come out and be talked about and advocate for support in ensuring that we minimize mental health issues.
Still on the topic of mental well-being and mental wellness, we have a discussion which is not really popularized, where we have the same problem gambling also affecting players within the industry. We have people who are working within the gaming industry also facing the same problems as some of the punters who are also having problem gambling issues. So do you think approaches should be different for the people who are actually involved within the industry as compared to how you deal with problem gambling with punters who are outside the industry?
To me, I think the approach should be the same. If we are addressing the issue of mental health, it cuts across. It doesn't matter if you are on the other side, or you are in the sector, the effects are the same. So the approach should be the same across board.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about collaboration, and especially collaboration with operators and gaming providers and such, other players within the industry. How are you approaching such collaborations, especially since operators tend to feel like regulators are not really helping them promote the product that they're trying to sell? It's always a conflict of interest most of the time. So how do you encourage and promote more collaborations with them?
I think one thing we've emphasized is that, one, we need to change the perception in this sector. This sector is perceived as, it has a negative perception. And the only way we can change the perception of this sector is coming together and collaborating to show that, yes, there are negative effects in this sector, but there also this positive side. And we can focus on the positive, use the positive to minimize the negative effects. And the only way we can do it is by collaborating and ensure that, one, we set standards within which to operate. Do we create, for example, a responsible gaming foundation or fund that can come in handy to support people dealing with gambling problems? So this is one thing we've over time emphasized in our sector, and it's the way to go, because we can't do our own activities as a regulator, let operators do their own activities, then the software providers do their own activities or products without coming together and forging collaborative ways within which to ensure that we make gambling a safe sector and free from adverse effects. So collaboration is our key strategic objective, especially in addressing problem gambling issues. So we have to keep advocating, we have to keep creating awareness even within the operators, because ordinarily they are part of the problem causers. So why don't you come on board and offer the support that is there to be offered? So I think there is no question about collaboration. This must happen. How it happens, it's getting on the table and discuss on how, but it must happen. And that's the only way that we will make this sector get respected and people understand that
You recently implemented the central monitoring system, which is a very significant step. What would you say are the major impacts of having this in place?
Our law requires that we do implement, establish and maintain a national central electronic monitoring system for purposes of course, monitoring significant events. But majorly, I think it is important that, one, we understand the statistics in as far as the sector is concerned. But most important is that we have a system that can enable us protect the public against adverse effects of gaming, because with the system we are going to know how much money are people betting, how much time, how many people are involved, how old. So I think to me, I look at it more on having a platform that gives you the data, gives you to understand what is happening in the sector, so that you're able to come up with data-driven policies, data-driven regulations, so that you make this sector a safe sector to be exposed to the public.
On the subject of innovative solutions, are there any solutions that you hope that the board might implement anytime soon to actually improve the board's performance within the industry?
Yeah, we basically focused on automating all our processes. We've implemented the National Central Electronic Monitoring System. This concluded financial year, we are able to implement what we call a national register of gaming equipment. So where we have done and monitoring of the movement of our gaming equipment in the country and what equipment comes in. So the focus is basically on automating all our processes to ensure that we can effectively regulate the sector, which is basically ICT led. So I believe the operators are way ahead of us in terms of technology, and the only way is to leverage on technology to ensure that we can effectively regulate the sector.
Okay, thank you. One last question before you give your closing remarks. We've had recent developments, especially in countries like Kenya, where we've had increase in excise duty. There's just a lot of heavy taxes being implemented within the industry. And one of the reasons we've had implementations of such taxes is the claim to actually promote responsible gaming and responsible gambling. So what are your thoughts and views on the constantly increasing heavy taxes, especially within the gaming industry?
I think there are various reasons why there is a constant increase in tax in different countries. And what I have seen mostly is prohibitive. They want to prohibit gambling in their countries and therefore try to increase taxes. And my personal view is we need to move away from that. A case in Uganda, we are seeing the sales in the sector here out with our taxes, which I believe are not prohibitive looking at the other countries. Here we have we've categorized gaming and betting. Where gaming, we have the casinos, the slot machines, where we do 30% of the GGR, and sports betting, where we have 20% tax and then 15% withholding tax, which is gotten from the Panther winnings, and which I think is fair especially in East Africa. But back to your question, to me, I think we need to do more analysis on the sector trends. We need to focus on putting in place responsible gaming initiatives strongly that are embedded in the law, so that we do not focus on increasing taxes with an aim of prohibiting people from gambling, because from my experience, from my observation, taxes can never prohibit people from getting involved in gambling.
Absolutely.
So we need to move away from that thinking and focus on other responsible gaming initiatives that will protect the people from gambling, will protect the people who are gambling from doing excessive gambling. But the issue of increasing tax to prohibit is never going to work in any country, at least from my observation.
Okay. I just want you to give some final closing remarks. Anything that you'd like to add on to whatever we've discussed today? And
thank you so much, Sharon and iGaming, for making time to visit Kampala and take part in the sports betting conference. I think it's a great initiative that sector players come together and discuss the trends, the new developments in the sector. But what I would really want to encourage sector players to focus on is creating standardizing this industry. And it would be good if we have a round table and basically discuss standardizing responsible gaming initiatives standardizing the licensing categories, standardizing the games that we do have. We have these operators offer to the public, and I greatly believe that coming together and collaborating also on a number of initiatives. If I draw it to the East African community, if we can come together and create same standards, create same licensing regimes, it would be good for this sector. But also to the Africans, especially African regulators, I think there is a need to sit and focus on how can we make our Africans invest in this sector. The reason this sector across Africa is dominated by foreigners is that we as Africans have sat back and decided to become technology consumers instead of being technology innovators. And I think that is something that we are focused on as a gaming board in Uganda, on how to create opportunities for innovators, especially local innovators, to get into this space. So to me, the focus should be on how to create opportunities around technology so that Ugandans, East Africans can invest in this sector.
Absolutely.